Hi, I'm Chad with Just Add Wood. This video chronicles a relatively inexpensive and easy 2-day project modernizing this circa 2005-ish builder-grade bathroom by replacing the vanity, the mirror, and the light fixture. Now, a few of you might notice that the flooring, the paint, and the faucet have already been replaced, so by installing the vanity after those items, it does add a little extra layer of difficulty in the whole order of operations of things. More on this later. I hope you'll follow along. Thanks for watching. Alright, so right out of the gate, we know we're going to have to cut the back wall of the existing cabinet to remove it without turning the water off to the house and removing the hot and cold shutoff valves. And since the flooring is already installed and butts up to the existing cabinet, we chose a slightly larger vanity, a vanity with a little larger footprint to cover the areas where the flooring stops. And then of course, by removing the vanity, the mirror, and the light, you'll be left with drywall damage, blobs of mastic, and years of paint and caulk buildup that will need to be addressed before installing the new one. The first item on the removal list is going to be the mirror. We're going to try to remove it without breaking it using an extendable pole here to sort of keep it from falling off the wall before we're ready and hitting the ground. And then I'm just going to use regular construction shims available at any big box store and sliding them behind the mirror anywhere you can get purchased, and then slowly tapping them in more and more until the mastic on the back of the mirror releases. So if you take your time and you go slow, you're probably not going to break the mirror. And eventually you can take down your safety net pole there and remove the block of wood. My pole wasn't quite long enough, so we had to use a block of wood, no pun intended. And by slowly pulling the mirror away from the wall in different spots, eventually it will come loose and you can promptly drop it on the countertop and then safely take it away. With the newly removed mirror safely out of the bathroom, what I'm going to do next is use a razor knife and carefully cut along the wall and the countertop where it's been caulked into place. We do this for a couple of reasons. We want to cut the adhesive and we don't want the drywall to tear when we pull the countertop away. So you just carefully cut along the seam there until you cut all the way through it, and then you can slowly lift up on the countertop and make sure it's free. And once the countertop's free, you can reach underneath the cabinet there and drape a big towel or a small Tupperware under the plumbing fixtures and remove the P-trap, which is supposed to have a little bit of water in it. So you can dump it into the nearby toilet, or you can dump it in your Tupperware on your towel. And then you can turn the hot and cold water shutoff valves off and start disconnecting all the plumbing going to the drain and the faucet. With the faucet completely disconnected, we can slowly lift up on it, make sure it's free, and carefully remove it from the cabinet and carry it off to a safe place along with the mirror so we can donate it later. Unfortunately, the side splash didn't come away with the countertop cleanly, so I had to pry on that for a minute to get it to remove. Left a little bit of drywall damage. With the countertop out of the way, we can use this multifunction tool to cut a hole in the back of the cabinet to allow enough room for the pipes to pass through. Now initially I was just going to cut away the whole back of the cabinet, but I decided to go ahead and replace the PVC shutoff valves with real quarter turn ball valves, which should be a better quality and last a lot longer than the PVC valves that are there. So I'm cutting away around the drain line, and once those pieces are away, we should be able to pull it away from the wall. And I've already removed the PVC hot and cold shutoff valves, and I'm going to replace them with these push-on style quarter turn ball valves. Once that's done and everything's out of the way, I'm going to use a 5-in-1 tool to just scrape all the high spots off the walls and scrape all the caulk off the walls and hit any high spots that are left, and scrape off these blobs of mastic that was holding the mirror on. They look something like Acme Company black holes from the Roadrunner cartoons. They come off just as easy, so just be careful not to step on one on the floor. But beyond that, you're just scraping off any high spots and making sure the walls are fairly smooth to the touch. All you should have is indentions, because next we're going to mix up some drywall mud. Now here I'm using powder mud that you mix with water. It's 45-minute mud, so it's supposed to dry in about 45 minutes time. I find it sands a little easier than, say, the 20-minute mud, and it dries a whole lot faster than some of the longer muds. So this goes on real easy. Once it's on, you've filled all the low spots. You're going to want to cover the floor before you start sanding. Sanding drywall makes quite a mess, and so you want to cover everything up that dust seems to get everywhere. But when you're spreading the mud on the wall, drywall is more art than science, and I'm not very artsy. So you really just want to fill in any low spots without adding too much mud. So just add as little drywall mud as possible to any low spots. Spread it as thin as you can. And then once it's dry, you can come back here and sand it like I'm doing now and get any high spots you created. Then what I like to do between coats of drywall is to go ahead and put a prime coat of paint on the walls. It's really hard to see any imperfections on that white drywall mud that oftentimes is filled with drywall dust. So the imperfections won't show themselves until you get a little color on the wall. So you can put a little color on the wall, get it painted, get this prime coat on, and then come back with your second coat of mud, and then hit any spots you might have missed the first go round. Make everything real smooth. This is just a real thin extra coat. I'm sanding with just normal medium grit sanding sponges. You might have noticed I've taken the light fixture down, and it's just hanging by the copper grounding wire, which isn't very safe, but it's a very, very light fixture. And now I'm just wiping the wall down with a damp paper towel, just to remove any remaining drywall dust and get it off of the pipes and out of any of the crevices. Good morning. Day 2 of our bathroom mini makeover. So far you've seen me strip the old vanity from the bathroom, repair the damage done to the drywall from removing the old vanity, partially disassemble a light fixture, and put a prime coat of drywall mud up, get it sanded, put a prime coat of paint on there, a second coat of drywall, which has now been sanded and looks like it's ready for its final coat of paint. Once that's on and dry, we're going to go ahead and install this new vanity. I've taken the time to install a new faucet and new pop-up drain into the new vanity, and we're going to put this beast in there just as soon as the paint's dry. So I've checked the drywall very closely, and I've run my hands all over it. It's very smooth to the touch. So we're just going to put a final coat of paint on here, make it look presentable, and then move on to replacing the light fixture. What did I do that for? Oh man. Well, I had intended to use my camera's light to light the room up while I replaced the light fixture, but the battery died. So here I am using a lamp from the living room. I should start by saying, at best, consult with an electrician, and at the very least, make sure your circuit is off. Just mounting the base plate here, wiring it up is ultra easy. It wires in the same way it came out, which is black on black, white wire to white wire, and copper wire to the metal base. Now I'm just going to install the glass bulbs, and this thing's ready to go. So as you can see, we've slid the new vanity into place, and I need to trim the baseboard. But we needed the vanity in place to know exactly where to trim this. So I'm just going to come in here with a pencil line and draw on the baseboard where to cut it. And I'm going to use this multifunction tool to trim that out. And it fits like a glove. This model vanity has leveling feet, so So I'm just using my level here to make sure we have it level front to back and left to right, so it'll hold water appropriately. Then moving on to the plumbing here, you can see I had to slightly modify the shelf that's in the middle of the cabinet to go around the P-trap, and I'm just going to install the hot and the cold lines. I'm using these braided style lines, which are supposed to be a little more burst resistant. And again, all of this just comes from the local big box store. You don't have to visit any plumbing hardware or specialty providers for any of this. Here I am turning the water on, and look, Ma, no leaks. So for the next trick, I'm going to hang this mirror that has two hangers on the back of it. Sometimes those can be tricky, keeping them level and getting the mirror hung exactly where you want. So what I like to do is to put a piece of tape on one of the hangers and leave enough tape hanging off of the edge so you can put the mirror roughly where you want it on the wall and then transfer the tape to the wall. That'll give you an indication of where on the wall your hanger is going to be and where it locates your mirror on the wall. From then you can measure the distance between the two hangers and then mark the other side on the wall. Once your wall is marked, you can stretch a piece of tape across the two hangers. And if you stretch it tight across there and draw or poke little holes in the existing hangers on the back of the mirror, you can then transfer that piece of tape to the wall, and that will tell you exactly where those hangers are behind that mirror. So when you put your drywall anchors on, that mirror will hang exactly where you intended. And a quick little organizational tip is one of these little $10 Home Depot Husky containers to keep all of our wall hanging supplies in one place. I don't know about y'all, but I was always running around the house looking for a picture hanger, and now we can keep all the hooks and the loops and the drywall anchors and the Velcro all in one place. So with the mirror hung up, it's time to move on to one of the last parts of the project, and that's to put a little piece of baseboard back on that I had to remove to take the old vanity out. I just cut down the existing baseboard and shoe mold, and I'm going to brad nail them in place and use a little putty to get them cleaned up. So if you made it this far into the video, I sincerely appreciate it. And if you see anything out of whack, or if you see any ways that I can improve, please let me know. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, hear how you did your vanity swap. I'm just a weekend warrior like many of you guys out there, and would love to see different ways to do this. And here's the finished project, folks. It's been super fun swapping this vanity out. And here it is. It's hard to tell. It's such a small room. And the fisheye is going to make it look a little distorted. But I hope you guys enjoyed following along and imagining your own projects as much as I enjoyed making the video and putting this new vanity in. Thanks for following along.